Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello all. So, welcome to week 3 lecture 5. So, our previous lecture was on road transport. So, continuing being in the transportation section. So, now we move on to the MRT. So, we will be talking about the railways and the metro stations. So, standards or specification for railways and metro stations. What are the problems that we see in the railways? First of all, when we enter the station, while entering the station, from where the point. So, now whenever this we discussed when we talked about the road transport also, that boarding a bus and all, that whenever you try to design a system, visualize yourself as a user. When you when you want to travel through train from one place to another, what are the steps you need to go through? So, step 1 is when you get dropped outside the station. So, you have to enter the platform. You have to, with the help of some, now when you just get into the platform, there has to be some kind of a grade separated movement. You cannot just walk into the platform from a level, from the road, or when you move from one platform to another platform, again there will be some grade separated movement. So, and these are these overbridges, foot overbridges and the subways are the age old solution to these problems. Problem of transfer from road to the station or from one platform to another platform, but they are barrier for person with disabilities and elderly, of course. So, this is one problem. What else? Next, when you have reached the platform, the gap between the platform and the train. Now, there is as you can see here, there is a vertical gap and there is a horizontal gap. Unfortunately, our trains are again not standard, our coaches are not standard. So, even if someone says, okay, I will increase the height of the platform, what do you do to the gap between what do you do to the horizontal gap? Thankfully, when you just go for the metros and all, that problem is less, because everything is standardized there. But our trains are not standardized. Our local trains and these long distance trains have different dimension. So, the problem is everywhere. So, it is really a complex problem. The problem with the is really complex. As we talked about the buses, that our buses are not standard, our bus stops are not standard. Similarly, our railway stations and the trains are also not standardized. So, that's really a problem, the gap between the train and the platform. And of course, the facilities like inaccessible toilets. Well, here probably it is easier to handle, because now we have these building design standards, we have the harmonized guidelines as we have seen, and you can just modify them provided there is space. So, but only the awareness need to be there, inaccessible drinking water. So, these can be handled, but let us just understand the problems first. Maybe this is a particular case when from the this is a cabway and where from there you need to get into the platform, but again the problem of gaps, but again this is just still a solvable problem. Facilities are not at the same level. Other problems, psychological problems like crowding, unsafe crossing of tracks. When you have these long underpasses for maybe inter-platform movement, or from moving to from modal changes. We were talking about the modal changes. So, generally what happens that when say you are transferring yourself from the bus or taxi or whatever to the to the station, many a time you need to move through these underpasses, and so these underpasses are most of the times long stretches and without any intermediate seating facilities and inadequate illumination. So, that means, so these underpasses, though there are no as such level differences, but the barriers are there. So, these need to be understood. Inadequate seating facility, crowding is always there in the platform everywhere. Inadequate information in various zones. Someone is sitting, someone is waiting in the platform, doesn't know that when the trains will be announced. So, that is kind of a create a tension. We have talked about psychological barriers in our initial classes. So, these are psychological barriers, that you do not know where your train will be, whether in this platform or whether you have to walk another 10 minutes to reach your train. So, that kind of creates a panic. So, people, because of this uncertainty, people tend to avoid public transportation system. So, these are psychological barriers. So, what we need to do, the key elements of architectural vision in the station, we need to maximize passenger convenience by giving them seating, by giving them illumination, which would lead to safety and security, because these long underpasses, particularly in odd hours, might be unsafe, and people with vulnerability, they are often easy prey to any kind of criminal activities. You need to at the same time have fast and efficient passenger flow, flexible interiors where you can have seating facilities with proper vision, and of course a world class feeling. So, the design principles, I think, which is coming from the what we discussed. So, I will just skip this slide and move on. Now, let us see what are the components that we have. So, first, when we access the station, that is the parking and the vehicular access. So, there has to be at least one accessible entrance at every intermodal street and access point. We have discussed about the making a facility universally accessible, barrier free and visitable. So, this is talking about the visitability, that at least is it visitable by everyone. One accessible entry must be there with proper information, that which is the accessible entry. And say when there is a transfer from a bus stop to the station. So, when you are transferring from the bus stop, should be able to know that exit number 5 leads through the accessible entry to the station. No confusion. Dedicated drop off and pick up points for wheelchair users. Levelled approaches. So, that we all say always. Should have paved non-slip surfaces, designated parking areas near the entrance for the vehicles carrying wheelchair users, and braille and tactile station maps. Then next is the approach route for stations. Definitely level difference is the basic requirement, but other than that, non-slip surface. We have, when we were talking about where lies the gap, we have said that sometimes faulty choice of material or inappropriate material been procured, that leads to the total failure of a good design. So, the surface needs to be non-slip and proper material to be procured. TGSI, needless to say, and proper width and all with the level ramps. So, a good example, ramped access to the platforms which TGSI. Elevators and escalators. So, at least one accessible elevator with the guiding blocks, proper grab bars, tactile braille floor indicators. So, every component of an elevator should be there. Now, escalators are as I said earlier also, though they are not universally accessible, but they are useful for mass movement, and escalators are important for semi-mobile person, like a person with maybe heart disease cannot take the steps, but can easily get into the escalator and secure himself or herself, or a person with heavy luggage can or someone who is simply tired at the end of the day, they definitely can use escalators. So, escalators are important for mass movement in public transportation, though they cannot be the only solution. I repeat, they cannot be the only solution. There has to be a proper elevator also with basic accessibility complying the basic accessibility standards. Now, then once you get into the station, or before you get into the station, you need to purchase the tickets. So, as we have discussed this for hotel receptions, you need to have a low height counter. So, similarly here also, that there has to be a low height counters, at least one low height counter with proper knee clearance, so that you can, why knee clearance? Because you might need to go in front and access the table and fill in a form. And also pictographic service maps for easy understanding of important signage. Induction loop unit for hearing impaired users at one counter. It has to be mandatorily installed there. So, these are all references the harmonized guideline again. So, as you can see, the pictographic map and the low height counter. So, this is an ideal design of the reservation and information counters, where you have these tactile warning tiles, you have this Devyang friendly booths, and heights are you can see the height, the clear space. So, everything is being displayed here. I hope this is clear. Now, facilities. So, facilities of the wheelchair, other assistive devices like crutches, etc. That means, if someone is not coming on a wheelchair, but requires a transfer from the car to the platform or to the vehicle. So, folded wheelchair or space to store wheelchair, and if required, wheelchairs are to be provided at every station for helping them. First aid kits and other kit and other thing, and of course, as you see, that is the directional tile and the hazardous tile or the stop tiles, warning tiles. Now, these are some basic elements which you will find everywhere in every building. Now, here what we see that the warning blocks at 600 millimeter before the trackage, non-slip level of the flooring, proper illumination of the platform, no gap or the direct transfer, accessible connection between the platform via lifts and all. Now, this is important. All structural elements like columns or coach position, indicator poles, etc. shall be painted in contrast color from the bottom to 900 millimeter. Why? Because these are for people with low vision or maybe people with advanced cataract, or for elderly who might be unmindful. So, this is a safety measure which kind of prevent people from unmindfully getting hitting them. Now, coming to the inside, that is the coach design and sitting facilities. So, here what we have, first of all, entry wide doors with proper gap. If required, hydraulic lift or ramp at one door if there is a huge mismatch exist. Now, within the coach, a well demarcated wheelchair space. Design seats for disabled, proper aisle width, the route maps in braille or raised format, So, these are essential for the design of the coaches inside. Now, what are the facilities at the station? Toilets are there definitely. So, now a toilet will follow the normal accessibility standards, like for in terms of wheelchair radius for turning a wheelchair or the grab bars and all. The drinking water points, their height, the signage in braille and pictogram, and also please see the last point, toilets and kiosks should be located near the accessible routes and platforms. Now, if it is not possible for a designer to have the entire station accessible, now as this we have this we have discussed while talking about the buildings also, like it might not be possible to make the entire building accessible, but we must define that, well, this route is accessible and every facility on that accessible route needs to be accessible. So, here also if we say that of the various entry points to the station, one entry is accessible with proper marking, and that entry should lead to an accessible route to all the platforms, and all the facilities on that accessible route must be accessible. So, this is the simple toilet design. Ideally, there should be one accessible cubicle within every set of group of toilets. With inside the toilet, it is similar to what we have done for the building level. Just copy paste it here. This is same. Design of drinking water points. So, this is important because now that is a very that is a facility which is being used quite frequently, particularly in our Indian railway stations. So, the height of the taps is important, that clear knee space below the taps is important. Yes, signage. Now, this is very challenging. Why? Because you have to place the signage, because you in a way so that it is visible to the maximum number of people, and from a large distance, it is very easy to maybe design a signage system for smaller buildings, particularly when you talk about the braille signage. You need to access it, to touch it, to feel it and understand. But that might really be a challenge when you have such a huge hall. So, you have to find out the ways and means that where if you place a braille map, or where if you place a braille signage, it can easily be accessed by people, and you have to lead the person to that particular point so that they know where is the braille signage. Otherwise, following the general international symbol of accessibility in terms of the color contrast, in terms of the font heights, in terms of the font choice, in terms of the background foreground contrast. So, which we have discussed. So, these all are to be followed here. So, that means what is important here, which I have highlighted, that every decision point there should be some kind of information being given. Nobody should be stopped at any point. Wayfinding becomes otherwise very difficult. So, now these are the standard pictograms which we are following generally, that are Divyang friendly. So, that means maybe that you have 10 toilets in a station, but maybe 2 of them are Divyang friendly. So, it should have this symbol. It should have this Divyang friendly water body, should have this, water booth should have this symbol. Dedicated parking where you have ramps at foot over bridge for inter-platform transport, and whatever you are having, availability of the help booth or inquiry, availability of the audiovisual braille map. So, there has to be a proper symbol through pictograms. Let us see some international good practices. Signage at every decision point, and I mean whenever you enter a proper digital information board. Now the advantage of a digital information board is that at one location, if you just have one vantage location, there you can continuously keep on changing the content, so that you can display more number of information at one particular point. And yes, the information kiosk are there, the digital wayfinding and information. So there you can also have this the possibility of this I mean some provision for a person with sensory disability. So just before the escalator, proper information, the grab rails, tactile pavers, step free entrance, audible and visual alerts for train arrivals. Coming to some Indian good practices. From Delhi Metro. Now Delhi Metro has really done wonderful work in terms of making it barrier free. So you have elevators at station entry to ticket counter, tactile pavers are there, audible and visual alerts for train arrivals, warning strips, braille within the lift also, this braille to lift buttons, proper signage with pictograms, as you can see, with symbols of disability. Accessible ticket vending machine, low height ticket counters, signage, audiovisual train announcement, color contrast and level platform. I mean these are similar, just to show you different context. Yes, I mean when we talk about vulnerability, in our initial classes we said that sometimes women face some problem because of maybe the threat to safety issue and discomfort and other kind of discomfort. So sometimes this women only coach in metros, they are acceptable and they are appreciated by women. Just to on a lighter note, to discuss with you some local and indigenous solution. Maybe some kind of when you cannot have maybe a small railway station, and you cannot have something like an elevator. You cannot afford an elevator due to cost constraint or something like that. Maybe there can be a paved pathway with a centrally controlled gate and preventing access in other times, from where you can take a wheelchair, you can take your luggage, you can take and the people can walk at ease. So just a solution, because as I said that if you just go back to UDIP, Universal Design India principles, where we had talked about the 5S, and of that one was sasta or affordable or economy. So we have to have some innovative, indigenous, locally developed solutions for every scenario, which is important. Not only we need to always look forward to or adapt the Western solutions, but definitely they are we are having world class facilities in many places in India, in most of the places in India, but maybe there are certain situations, certain places where we require where a simple indigenous solution might be equally effective, and particularly when we have resource constraint. So this may be a solution for inter-platform changes. Is a very common seen in Indian stations that people prefer to wait on the foot over bridge. Why? Because once they go up and the train is announced, they do not need to, I mean they can easily get down at the required platform. It is not that that is to be really encouraged for everyone to reduce the load on the overbridge, that is not desirable much, but at least we can have some, if someone needs to wait on the overbridge, some priority seating on the horizontal part of the foot overbridge, not for all, but only for people for vulnerable group. If they, in case they need to move from one side of the one end of the overbridge, because if an overbridge is there running over 8 platforms, someone might to need an intermediate break. So certain, and which is most of the time overlooked. So a limited seating facilities on the overbridge are also essential on the horizontal part of the overbridge, without interfering with the flow. Maybe we talk about panicking. That's a very common situation in this railway station, that your train is announced and you move from platform number 1 to platform number 15. Suddenly there is a change in platform. As we have seen in the when you cross the road, in the signal there is a sign that how much time you get to cross the road. So here also, if we have a countdown that, well, this is the exact time and exact time of departure, and this much and so many minutes you have to move from one place to another place, that is from one platform to another platform. That will reduce the panic, that will reduce the psychological anxiety, which often leads to many accidents and hurrying and stampede and due to crowding and all. So these are some simple solutions which we can have. We can just with the help of some low height barriers or even notional barriers, we can cordon off an area and create subzones within a big multipurpose, within a big space, where we can have some people waiting, or not cut off from the rest, but at least have some kind of a barrier that gives a sense of security and comfort. So some really doable, easy solutions. So these are not really as per any standard, but these are being developed in our in IIT as part of our research, and I thought I will take the advantage of this platform to share these with you. So that's how we conclude that what we require, that all stations and transit vehicles must be designed to accommodate person with disabilities, barrier-free movement is essential, the facilities need to be inclusive, information system need to be accessible, so that people can move around these public spaces with safety and dignity and all the safety features. So just I am not reading out this, this will be provided to you. These are the references which I have used, manuals and standard specification for railways. There are the 2 volumes, harmonized guideline and the Gazette of India of Extraordinary Ministry of Railways. Thank you.